And we begin.
Okay, I'm going to share the outline first. This is what I had wanted you to look at. Let me make it a more reasonable size. Okay, so this is how things are going to go. The course outline in the PowerPoint presentation is a little bit different, but this is what we're going to do. And I have put in the chat and will send under separate cover this document that tells you how the class is going to be organized. We're going to talk about the generalities as we did when we started with the planets in the house, the signs in the houses. And tonight we're going to hopefully we'll cover the first 3 planets. And I'm talking about the first 3 in the order in which they appear in the zodiac. Next week we'll do the next 4 and the remaining 3 on on session 3, and we will review the table of essential dignities. Now, you certainly welcome to copy this down, but it's already done for you and will be sent to you. We're going to spend a lot of time on aspects because they're important. The aspects talk about the relationships between all of the components of a natal chart or of any chart. So we're going to spend a little bit more time on aspects. Now, I'm sure, as Rodney can tell you, he certainly understands astrodynes now because of the time that he spent figuring out how to do it manually. So that's what we're going to do with aspects. You're going to learn how to calculate aspects manually so that you can get a visceral understanding of what they are. Again, aspects are the relationships that are between the signs, the planets, the houses. Then we're going to talk a little bit about delineation, and of course, on the 8th session, we're going to have if any questions. Actually, I would like you to prepare questions before session 8, so that I can have answers for you when we come together, and then we'll do an assessment. So that's that. Now, we're going to go to a new share. Hold on to your horses. So that's not what I want. Come on. So I found this this is from a different program, but it's something that I think needs repeating. Learning astrology isn't Amazon Prime. It takes more than 8 days or 8 sessions or 8 classes to get what you want. It's not going to come immediately. Any teacher can review something with you, but you're going to have to put in the work. You have to do reading on your own. Granted that some of the information in what I'm presenting for the next 8 weeks comes throughout from all of the courses, but the main source, of course, is Astrological Signatures Course 2 of the C.C. Zane books. So here we go again. Now we're in Astrology 101B, and we're talking about planets and aspects. Now, of all of the components that we're studying, we're talking planet, aspects, signs, and houses. What do you think is the most important? Which of those 4 elements is the most important? Or the ones that upon which everything else relies?
Planets.
The planets, yeah. The planets are the thing, are the joint. Come on, there we go. And so here is how the class will be structured. We're going to talk about the magical quaternary, and we did that when we started in Astrology 101A, and that's the Jod He Vah He. So then we're going, I want you to please download the blue book. I'm not going to put it in the chat because you can get it free on light.org. And it explains, it gives a very general overview of astrology and looking at the natal chart. And it can provide a good foundation for you to branch out and to get additional information. So please download the blue book from light.org. Then we're going to talk about the planets. We're going to talk about the planets in general. This is this ABCD is the Jod He Vah He. And so the general is how it begins. And then we're going to look at the qualities of the planets, the polarity of the planets, and then the planets as a whole. And as we are looking at each planet, each individual planet, we're going to look at the keyword, descriptions and adjectives for those keywords, just additional things that can assist you in finding deeper understanding of the planet. We're going to look at the essential dignities. And the essential dignities talk about the ruler, and the place of organization, exaltation and harmony. And then we're also going to look at the major arcanum card that corresponds with the planet. After I've driven you crazy with that, we're going to look at aspects, and we're going to look at aspects in relatively the same manner. We're going to talk about the quality of the aspects, what an orb is. Then you're going to get the explanations for the aspects, and then we're going to do the math. So by the time we get to session 5, you have enough time to become familiar with the calculator on your telephone, or if you have a separate device, you can use that as well. And if you are comfortable with adding and subtracting on your own, please do so. It's not absolutely necessary that you use a calculator. And then we're going to talk about delineation. So, any questions so far? No? Everything's not clear?
Are you using geometry or trigonometry?
We're going to use basic math. Now, granted, in that basic math, we are going to be talking about degrees, minutes, and seconds. So when we're talking about degrees with astrology, we're talking about a base of 30. Do you understand what I mean when I say a base of 30?
Yes.
Does anybody not understand what I say when I'm talking about that? So each sign has how many degrees in it? 30. So once you go to 31, actually when you get to 30, you're no longer in the sign, you're in the next sign. So the signs are from 0 to 29. Each sign is from 0 to 29 because 0.00.01 is the birth of a particular sign. And if we're not even going to talk about seconds, let's start with 0.01. 1 minute, we're in the sun. Okay. So now when we're talking about minutes and seconds, we're going to be talking using a base of 60 because there are 60 minutes in a degree and 60 seconds in a minute. But we don't have to worry about that until session 5. So take a breath. Right now, we're looking at the planets, and we're looking at the Jod He Vah He of the planets. We start with the vital planets. And planets are wanderers. That's what the word planet means. And the planets are the heavy lifter of the whole shebang. The planets are the ones with the energy, and signs modify that energy, modify the way that energy is expressed. The vital planets, ones for life, are the sun and the moon. And then we have the intellectual planets. And the intellectual planets are Mercury and Uranus. Next are the social planets, and there are more social planets than there are anything else. And the social planets are Venus, Mars, Neptune, and Pluto, because they do rely on social interaction and for expression. And the business planets are the two left, Jupiter and Saturn. And again, that's all going to be in the handouts that I posted in the chat. And if you don't see it now, you'll get it later. Now we want to look at the quality of the planets. And we have harmonious planets. Another word for harmonious planets are the benefics. And there are two benefics, that's Jupiter and Venus. And I should have said Venus and Jupiter. Here's we're going to go in the order in which they appear in the zodiac. And when other planets are in aspect with either of these planets, additional harmony is given that aspect. Or if it is not an easy aspect, that aspect is, some of the sharpness is sanded away when in aspect, when in relationship with Venus and Jupiter. Now we talk about the discordant planets or the malefics, and those are Mars and Saturn. And just as the benefics lend harmony, the malefics lend a little bit of discord. And remember, it is the discord that grows that grows character. Anybody can sit in a nice, comfortable chair. But you strengthen your ab muscles if you're sitting on a bench, and you have to sit on the edge of the bench with your feet flat on the floor. It might be a little uncomfortable, but you're also strengthening your back and your ab muscles. And then there are the convertible planets, which lend their expression according to the sign and the aspect that they are in. And the convertible planets are the sun, the moon, Mercury, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. And I could just whip these names out because all of you know those symbols by now, and you can just write those symbols nice and quickly. So, right? You got those symbols down pat. I know you do. Let's see if I have no, that's not what I want. Let me go back. Okay, I'm going to have to do something. Annotate. Let's annotate here. No, it's not. I'm not. Anyhow. So again, the harmonious planets are Venus and Jupiter. Discordant planets are Mars and Saturn. And the convertible planets are the rest. Sun, Moon, Mercury, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. How interesting. Anyhow, So we've done 4 when we talked about the planets of vital, intellectual, social, and business. Now, the quality of the planets are harmonious, discordant, and convertible. What's next? What, after we talked about quality with the signs, what do we talk about next? Yeah, we talked about the polarity, the sex, exactly. So we have 2 polarities. One is electric, and the electric planets are Sun, Mars, Saturn, and Jupiter. So electric, positive, energetic, they push out. And then we have the magnetic planets. Moon, Venus, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Have I named all the planets? So the electric planets, again, are Sun, Mars, Saturn, and Jupiter. And the magnetic planets are Moon, Venus, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Anybody missing?
Mercury.
Mercury. Yep, because Mercury is in a class all by itself. Mercury remains convertible.
Vanessa,
Yes,
on your handout, it says the positive electric planets are Sun, Mars, Jupiter, Uranus. Magnetic is Moon, Venus, Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto.
yeah. I
Okay.
misspoke?
Yes.
Okay, I misspoke. So again, the electric planets are Sun, Mars, Saturn, Jupiter, and Uranus.
No,
Magnetic.
Saturn. Saturn is
Yeah, I keep, how about that? Yeah, and I corrected that. I called myself correcting that because I'm reading. You know, and everything I write, of course, is absolutely, positively perfect. So Mars, Sun, Mars, Uranus.
Sun, Mars, Jupiter, Uranus is electric,
Moon, Venus, Neptune, and Pluto,
and Saturn.
and Saturn are magnetic.
Yes, ma'am.
And Mercury remains convertible because it is the messenger. It carries information all the time and is dependent upon its placement and aspects, particularly its aspects, to determine what it's going to be doing. And so after we've talked about the polarity of the signs, then we talk about, the planets, then we talk about the planets as a whole. And here are all of the planets listed in the order in which they appear in the zodiac. We start with the sun, and I'm going down the left column first and then back up around to the right column. So we have Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. And it's a good idea to memorize them in that order. Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Because there are so many elements to consider in a chart, the information should come at you in an organized fashion so that you don't miss anything, so that you don't overlook anything. You're going to, because there is so much information that needs to be considered, However, when you organize it, you are less likely to miss many important things. You'll at least you will definitely get the highlights when you organize it. So you want to memorize this: the sun, moon, Mercury, Pluto, whoops, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. And memorize those, and memorize and practice the symbols. Because as you're going through things, it's going to be much easier and certainly faster to jot down a symbol than to write the entire word. So you have symbols for the signs, you have symbols for the planets, and you're going to also have symbols for the aspects. And it's a shorthand. With the planets and the signs, you're looking at 22 symbols. And then you add another 10, 11 symbols for the aspects. And after a while, it's going to become second nature, and it should become a bit of second nature. So anytime you go any place and you're looking at a chart, or you've asked, or you generated a chart from something online, what you're going to see first are the symbols, and you're going to see the symbols in a horoscope wheel. So you want to become familiar with those symbols. I personally find it easier to read a chart generated by Horoscope 2020, the program that you can get from the Church of Light, because it's not complicated with all of the lines drawn in the center showing aspects. What it gives you is something called an aspectarian, which lists all of the aspects. And the aspects are, that aspectarian also shows the power that is being generated by those particular relationships, those signs in those planets, in those particular signs, in the houses, in relationship with other planets and signs and in houses. So, more? Anything else? No. We want to continue on?
So,
Let's go. Okay, so we're going to, the first planet we're going to be looking at is the sun. And the sun indicates the flavor of your drive for significance. And what would the flavor be?
Sign.
The sign. It talks about self-esteem. Now, the sun is electric, so it's male, it's aggressive, it's assertive, it's positive. You see the keyword on the bottom is vital. So your sun needs to have a little bit of energy, because it certainly impresses its energy on other planets, on the other planets. That's where the sun gets everything started. Oh, you see that now? Oh, there we go. I'm sorry. I was so careful to make sure that I got everything out to you that I started putting things, I put what I needed away rather than had it out. So whatever house the sun is in, it expresses through vigor, through activity. So the sun in the third house would express activity in, that's a question. I'm sorry, that's a question.
Communication.
And communication, what else, what is the third house doing?
Brethren.
Learning, yeah. So
Learning.
communication, writing, travel, short distance travel in the third house. The sun in the 11th house would express vitality and vigor in Drew,
Hopes.
hopes and wishes. What, Jill? Did your kitty tickle you?
No, I'm trying to think of what the third word is.
Oh, okay. Friends and associates
Yes.
and causes. Okay. So that's part of what you're looking at. Wherever the sun is placed, you're going to look at the vitality in that particular area. Now, how will that vitality express? How might that vitality express if the sun is in Virgo?
Analytical.
Detail.
Detail, attention to detail. Yeah.
Precise.
Analytical.
Analytical, yes. More than any, and more than the other planets, Virgo is also talking about science and you know, scientific approach to something and a kind of research. So that's what you're looking at when you're looking at the sun. In the physical body, the sun has dominion over the heart, the electrical energies of the body. It assists in sustaining life. It is a vital, essential planet. It is the core or the foundation of the personality. It is the basis of the personality.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
If a planet, when a planet is in a sign that's opposite or that's not, it's like magnetic or positive, does that affect how it expresses itself?
I'm not sure of what you're asking.
Okay.
No,
Sorry.
ask it
So-
again, you know, because I'm
Okay.
just as stupid as everybody else. So, you know, ask it again, please.
So the sun is electric.
Yeah,
And so when the sun is in, if the sun's in the second house, which is magnetic, does it change the energy?
yes. But the sun is still energetic. It is, it changes, it changes the flavor. It doesn't necessarily change the strength because the strength is also going to depend upon the aspects that the sun is getting.
Okay.
What else would change the flavor of this? We just talked about that. The other thing that would change the flavor of the sun is the sign that it's in. It is still the sun. It is still the core of the personality. It is still that which energizes the person. And it's getting all of these other influences from the other planets, from the house position, from its essential dignity. What you're asking, that question is an essential dignity question. The ruler. So the ruler of the sun is Leo.
Isn't that just the opposite way around? The sun rules Leo?
The
not
sun,
Leo
yeah.
rules the sun?
Well, yeah. Leo, yeah, Leo rules the sun.
And the sun's in exaltation in Leo,
No,
no?
no, the sun is Leo, the sun
Aries.
is in exaltation in Aries. Thank you.
Okay.
Because
It's,
that's when the sun's more.
go on.
oh, sorry.
Go
'Cause
on,
that's
Jill.
when- That's when the sun is most powerful at the March equinox,
Yep,
or when it's arising from its sleep from winter,
when it's crossing the equator.
the equator, yeah.
Yeah, that's when it crosses the equator. So the sun is the foundation of character. It expresses in pride, effort, nobility, social status, leadership. It's generally thought of as paternal, kindly and dignified. Leo, the lion, just look at that wonderful mane. And Leo, the kind ruler. Trying to take care of their subjects, and that's what the sun is doing. It's your power urges. It's how you express your individual power, and the sign modifies how the sun expresses itself. But the sun will always express itself as positive, aggressive, energetic, commanding. In social status, as controlling, sometimes unbending. So yeah, those adjectives combined with the sign direct you to how the sun expresses in each sign. The sun has an easier time expressing itself in Leo, its ruler, in Aries, its position of exaltation, and in Sagittarius, its position of harmony. However, the sun expresses itself in all 12 signs. And expressing itself as aggressive when you're in Pisces is a challenge that builds character. Expressing itself in Aquarius, which is its detriment. I always say that wrong. Let me make sure. No, it's Aquarius is its detriment. Is again another challenge. Because the sun is a leader, the sun wants to be first. Whereas Aquarius is an egalitarian, we're all the same. And then also, since Aquarius is a very cerebral planet, it could have difficulty expressing itself as this leader without intelligence. Because Aquarians are very, very cerebral. They want to think about and analyze everything, and then they want everybody to benefit. And talk about humanitarian goals, you're talking about an Aquarian. So look through your adjectives for each sign and combine them with the adjectives that, once you get the handout that you have for the planets, and you can come to the way these things will express. Now, where will they express? And that will depend on the house in which the sun resides. So the sun will be most energetic in matters of entertainment or children if it's in the 5th house. The sun will be most energetic in a chart in the area of career and reputation when it's in which house?
The 10th house?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's continue on. The colors for the sun are orange, the metal is gold. And the musical tone is D. And I'm still working on that. I pursued a career in music for a while. And so I'm still working on how to assign these notes and, take a chart and seeing what kind of chords they come up with. Because we're going to have to you combine the house, the sign with the planet, and each sign in each house, and you have a handout that does that as well, that shows you what musical tone is associated with which sign and which planet. Anyhow, the major arcanum card that goes with the sun is card number 21, the Adept. And it says the empire of the world belongs to the empire of light, and that the empire of light is the throne which God reserves for the sanctified will. Thou wilt gather the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil and drink of the eternal fountain if thou art sufficiently master of thyself to approach it without coveting. Obstacles will disappear from thy path, and thy destiny will have no limits save those of thy will. Now, this is your energizing your drive for significance, energizing your basic character. These are all things that are on the sun. So the next planet after the sun is the moon. Oh, come on. Why won't you? Okay. There we go. My computer froze. It wasn't behaving. So both the sun and the moon are what kind of planets? They are the what planets?
Vital
They are the
planets.
vital planets. The sun and the moon are the vital planets.
I'm cheating, I'm looking at the book.
That's perfect. That's fine. That's all right. Go right ahead. Please do. However, the moon is a magnetic planet. It is feminine. Oh, and I'm sorry, I forgot. How long does it take the sun to cover each sign in the zodiac?
29 days.
Each
1 day for
sign.
each degree, right?
It takes 365 days. The sun moves approximately 59
Oh.
minutes, 8 seconds each day.
Okay.
And that's important to note. It's going to make a difference as you study. We're talking about the orbit of the sun, how long it takes to, how long the planet takes to travel through the zodiac, and how long it takes to travel through its daily movement. The moon, another vital planet, but it is magnetic and feminine. It has an orbit of 28 to 29 days. So that's how long it takes the moon to travel through the entire zodiac. The moon's daily motion is 13 degrees, 10 minutes. You know, the sun rules the heart, the center of things. The sun is your center. It energizes. The moon, it talks about domestic urges. It talks about fluctuation. It is impressionable. And not impressionable as, although it does manifest in that way, but not just impressionable as what you sense from a particular situation. that also that kind of impressionable. Doesn't mean that this impressionability is going to make you move in one direction or another. That's always up to you, always up to you. In the physical body, the moon talks about the rules the fluids of the body, particularly the waters. And I think I shared with you, my principal was a very practical woman. She was, and had she been born during this time, she would have been a rocket scientist. But because she didn't finish school until before the 50s, her father told her that a woman couldn't do the things that this woman could do. She was brilliant. She really was. She was a wonderful woman. In any event, even she acknowledged the influence of the moon on the children. So in the morning when she greeted teachers, she would let them know it's a full moon today. Expect them to bounce off the walls. Yes, so the moon is quite powerful, and although it reflects the light of the sun, it has its own power as well. It allows the energy to pass from the sun. It kind of dampens the sun and makes it a little bit more palatable as it comes to you. It can soften, although we can also get very crazy when we're talking about the moon. What is also important about the moon is that it talks about fluctuation. It's very, very changeable. The moon also governs your constitution, your basic general health. Say what? Oh, I thought I
That's
heard
the first
something.
I heard of that.
Excuse me?
Basic health. That's the first I've heard of that. That your basic health.
Yeah, it influences your general health. It's also an indicator of your temperament. It's one of the things that you look at when you're assessing character, mental ability, and appearance. You're talking about the moon, you're talking about someone as talking about being dreamy, sympathetic, understanding, nurturing, receptive. The moon governs everyday affairs, and it governs the common people. If you're feeling particularly aggressive towards somebody, you can apply moon type thoughts and activities in order to dissipate some of that aggressive energy. So instead of going after somebody, you kill them with kindness. Take care of them. But not take care of them as, as somebody in a gang would, but take good care. The position of the moon also talks about the quality of one's mentality. And I'm not talking about quality in as far as good or bad quality. What I'm talking about of quality is the nature of the mentality. And it has some influence in the capacity of the mentality as well. I'm a Cancerian, so I'm somebody who's ruled by the moon because the moon rules Cancer. And very fortunately, I have the moon in Taurus, because otherwise I'd be a raving maniac. So it settles things down. in me, for me. It allows me to settle things down. It allows me to be a bit more practical. Because Cancerians have no problem withdrawing, have no problem going into themselves. And the things with the moon and with Cancerians, in order for that the sign and the planet to fully understand something, they must retreat into their sanctum sanctorium and digest the information or assimilate the information before they can adequately use whatever it is they're going after. So the moon, it can be regenerative as well. It's plastic. If you think about think about water running in a stream. Water will go around a rock. So there's the plasticity of something that's fluid, and that's what we're talking about with the moon. You know, the moon rules the tides. The moon softens the blow of the sun. You wait till your father gets home. And the moon will say, I will calm him down before he gets to me. The moon, as you see, I've made the moon green here because that's the color for the moon. It rules silver. It's also associated with silver. It rules Cancer. It's exalted in Taurus. And its harmonies in Pisces. Now, I also need to have my moon placed there because my mother, my sister, and my brother all had moon in Scorpio. And I absolutely adore my sister. I'm not being facetious, I do. I've managed to balance that somehow. Of course, she's a Virgo, so I think I have to credit her more with that balance than even me. The major arcanum associated with Virgo, with the moon, is a sarcophagus, number 20. So it seems like we're going backwards. 21 is perfection. In some degree. 20 is, we're getting there, sarcophagus, it's rising, coming up. Also, another thing that you might want to look at as far as the moon is concerned is the phases of the moon. There are generally 8 phases of the moon. They go from waxing to waning. There are you can find lots of texts about what the activities to undertake when the moon is waxing. A waxing moon means the moon is growing. A waning moon means the moon is getting smaller. And the moon also rules women. So you can look in your own chart for the position of the moon, the house it's in, and the aspects it's formed, and you can have a general idea of how relationships with women function in your life, and different ways that you might use to do whatever it is that you want to do with that kind of relationship. So let me talk about the sarcophagus. All fortune is changeable, even that which appears most stable. The ascension of the soul is the fruit that it should draw from successive trials. Hope is suffering, but mistrust thyself. Hope in suffering, but mistrust thyself in prosperity. Fall not asleep, either idleness or forgetfulness, for thou hast a mission to accomplish, which providence will reveal when thou art prepared to receive it. So we're talking about here, the moon. Let me go back to the sun. The sun is the power thought series. Its nature expresses as vitality and vigor. Its best quality is rulership. Its worst quality is dictatorship. Being a dictator. The moon talks about the domestic urges. Taking care, nurturing, protecting. It expresses through impressionability and fluctuation. You can count on the moon changing. 13 degrees a day. So the moon stays in a sign for approximately 2.5 days before it moves on to something else. I have an assignment for you. I want you to try and find out what it means when the moon is void of course. I'm not going to tell you. I want you to find out. I'll put it in the chat. Okay, come on. There we go.
Says when the moon makes its final major aspect with another planet.
Tell me next week.
Oh, sorry.
I want everybody to look it up. So Jill, you've done your homework.
Oh.
You're good.
Can you give me an example? Like when the moon makes its final major aspect, would that mean like a crescent?
When the moon makes no aspect to anybody, that's the void of course. When it aspects no other planet.
And so is that, okay. Would that be in a new moon?
Say that again?
I'm just looking at a chart of moons and I'm like, would that be like around a new moon? Or I'm probably just confused about how I'm trying to understand this.
Ideally, we would like all of our planets to make aspects to each other. But sometimes planets do not make aspects to all of the other planets.
Okay.
When a planet, when the moon is void of course, that means the moon is making an aspect to no planet. It is getting an influence from no other planet. It's just out there by itself.
Okay, I understand now.
Okay?
Thank you.
Okay. The next time we're going to see the moon void of course is on Thursday. During around 2 o'clock in the morning Eastern Standard Time. So any place the moon is, it's going to show changing, things that change, things that are in constant flow. As the moon rules water, the tides, and the flow back and forth, back and forth. It's always changing. You can count on it. You can count on change with the moon. Its best quality is being adaptable. And its worst quality is being inconsistent. Because it changes so much. So the next planet we're going to look at is good old Mercury. The Mercury that flits around. Convertible. Okay, now are you going to, there we go, it cooperated.
Oh, excuse me, Vanessa, what was the
Yes.
note for the moon? The note for, did I miss that?
Oh, I'm sorry, no, I didn't say it. The note for the moon is, oh, I don't have it on, I didn't put it on this one. Now all I have to do is find all of my other papers and see if I can find it. Because I haven't memorized that either. I want to say G, but I'm not exactly sure. Give me a minute and I'll, if I don't find it before we leave, I'll get back to you. I'll send you a note.
Thank you, thank you.
Where you can find it, however, is in the Sacred Tarot. That's where I found that. That's where you'll get that list. If you
And
go
it's in
look at
book one, I think, too.
Mm. Look at that, I did, I erased it from all of the other places. How dare I? I'm gonna try to get everything all at once and then I lose the things. Okay, I'll get that back to you. Because I know I have it in a chart someplace that I wasn't going to give to you because I thought I was driving you crazy enough with all of the information that you're going to have to be, that you're going to need to think about in order to study your natal chart, your birth chart. So Mercury talks about intellectual urges, thought, communication, transmission of ideas, speech, writing, short distance travel, perception, being able to gauge the weight, the size, the color, duration. These are things that are under Mercury.
Vanessa,
Yeah.
on the moon, the tone is F, as in Frank.
Mhm. One flat. I'm sorry.
Well, you know what that means.
Yeah. Too many pens, too many pencils. Okay, and how about the tone for Mercury?
I am looking it up as we speak.
B? B?
E is in boy or E?
B is in boy.
Okay, now my understanding is a little more thorough than many people. I have a degree in music, so when he throws out these tones, I want to know, well, what B are you talking about? And when you're talking about high B,
You mean like
there are a couple of
major?
high Bs.
Do you mean like major, minor?
I'm not just talking about, I'm talking about the different octaves too. You know, if you're just talking about the octaves of a piano, they call the piano the old 88 because there are 88 keys on the piano. And with those 88 keys, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have 8 octaves. You know, so how high is, you know, what do you consider high B? And yeah, I guess I would, and but that's my persnicketyness. You know, which ledger line is it on? I want to know exactly. So please, that's just my eccentricity, my idiosyncrasy.
Jupiter's A.
Say what?
What's
Jupiter is A, high A.
Jupiter's what?
High A.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but you know, what is high A? You know, some for a tenor, high A is 440. And so I want to see these things on a staff, and then I'll be happy. Anyhow,
Doesn't Mercury retrograde every 88 days?
approximately, yeah. And all of the, well, except the moon and the sun, but all of the planets go retrograde at some time or another.
There's 88 keys on a piano.
And when Mercury goes retrograde more than the other planets, because it allows us time to go over the information that we've just received. So you get a chance, when Mercury goes retrograde, you get a chance to review the information twice. Because first you go forward, and then it goes retrograde, and then it goes forward again over the same area before it gets into a new area. So you're going over information 3 times when Mercury goes retrograde.
And Mercury is in retrograde over around Pluto right now, right?
Yeah, why do you make me think?
Right. I just wanted to ask a question. If you have a because Mercury's retrograding around Pluto right now, if you have a strong
It's
Pluto
not,
placement-
they don't retrograde around. Each one,
or like conjunct, it was
okay, right now, today is the 25th. Mercury is not, Mercury will be conjunct or closer to conjunct tomorrow rather than even today. Mercury will be in 2954 Capricorn, and Pluto. Oh, Pluto is in no, Pluto is direct. Pluto is direct right now. Mercury is retrograde, and Uranus is retrograde. Nope, Uranus isn't retrograde either. Uranus just went direct on the 19th. But what else is retrograde right now is Venus. And Venus is retrograde in Capricorn.
What does retrograde mean?
I'm not understanding what whoever's talking. I didn't understand. I could hear you speaking, but I didn't. It was very muffled.
What does retrograde mean? What's the definition?
It means it appears as though it's going backwards in the sky.
That's what
It doesn't necessarily go backwards, but it appears as though it's going backwards in the sky. And when a planet goes retrograde, it is, what's the word? Repressed. It's not necessarily negative. It's just repressed. And since it's not direct, the information or the energy that it generally broadcasts is repressed. It's being held back. It's muffled.
Oh, that makes, okay. Thank you. I'm glad I asked.
There are, I'm sure Mercury is retrograde, don't sign any contracts. Well, if you started the contract before Mercury went retrograde, it's perfectly okay. What you need to do, however, is to make sure you dot all the I's and cross all the T's. When Mercury, how many people are familiar with old-fashioned thermometers that had mercury in them? Okay. And most of the time, anybody who's familiar with that became familiar with that when they were a child. And so what happened? They broke the damn thermometer. And what happened with the mercury? Try to pick it up. How dare you try to pick it up? Because as soon as you touch it, it goes someplace else. And all over the place. And that's what Mercury does. Mercury is swift. You know, think of the Greek and the Roman god. How is Mercury depicted?
Hermes.
Uh-huh.
This
Wings on his feet.
Wings on the
Wings on his feet. He's got the wings. Wings on his feet. And who is it? FTD florist? That's Mercury with the wings on his hat. You know, they're gonna get it to you quickly. And that's what Mercury does. You know, those with a prominent Mercury are quick thinkers. And they love information. They also love to talk.
Mhm.
God, they can talk. Yabba dabba dabba dabba. However, you know, since Mercury is one of the basic planets, it's also fundamental for learning. You need to be able to exchange these ideas in order for you to learn and to have that information become somewhat settled within you. You also need the swiftness of Mercury to jump to something else, to find something new, and to be able to change to find something new. So we just talked about the moon as being changeable, and Mercury is equally as changeable, but it's changeable in a different way. You know, it's changeable intellectually. It's changeable as far as being able to communicate, as far as gathering information is concerned. You know, it can be, it is not the indelicate expression of a Sagittarian Mercury. Mercury can exercise a bit of tact. But their tact comes with the fact that that brain is moving so quickly that if they say something off, they can come around and clean it up just as quickly. People with a prominent Mercury are said to have the gift of gab. And remember, it's also something that Mercury also allows us to look at yourself, because what did they use? They used to coat the backs of mirrors with Mercury. So not only was it that quicksilver in a thermometer that you had a hell of a time trying to pick up if you broke it, it is also something that was put on the back of the mirror that reflected itself to you. That reflected you to, you know what I mean. Mercury is retrograde. Okay, no, let me not go on to take that as an excuse. So, it's a basic education, academic learning. You know, it's the reading, writing, and arithmetic is Mercury. Although it also provides the avenue to develop those intellectual skills. People with a prominent Mercury tend to be clever, and of course, they're the gift of gab. The Mercury is ruled with Gemini and Virgo. And what quality are both of those signs?
Mutable.
Mutable. How apt? Because a mutable sign can get off of their stuff a whole hell of a lot faster than the other signs. The other signs can do it too, but mutable are more a different kind of adaptable. You know,
Isn't Mercury? Oh,
they can accept another, maybe not adopt it, but they can accept another point of view more quickly. Not take it as their own, not necessarily agree, but they can separate that. You were going to say, Jill?
oh, I'm just looking at the zodiac wheel. And I'm just thinking about how, because they say like the first 6 planets like under the horizon are your personal planets, and so it's like all of that energy that you're developing when you're developing yourself, it's like that mutable energy integrates all of these. Anyway, I'm just talking to myself.
I don't understand when you say the first 6 planets. If you're talking about your own chart, the and again, let's look at the houses.
I mean, the
Um,
personal, 'cause-
the horoscope is divided into 4 quadrants. And the quadrants are north and south, or north, which is the bottom part, 1 through 6, and south, which is 7 through 12, and then east and west, 10 through 3 on the east, and 4 through 9 on the west. Planets in the below the horizon, in the northern part of the chart, are things that are not visible to anybody, to many people.
that's what I was
And they
thinking.
do, okay, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you have you're talking about the first 6 houses and not necessarily the signs. If you have 6 planets there, is how your stuff manifests.
Right.
And then you have to look at the aspects that those planets make to the other planets within your chart. There's a lot to look at when you're analyzing a chart. But
Yeah.
anyhow, Mercury is ruled by Gemini and Virgo. It's exalted in Aquarius, the cerebral sign, and in harmony with Scorpio. Why would it be in harmony in a water sign, a water fixed sign, and Scorpio? Because Scorpio likes to dig down and find everything. So Mercury in Scorpio expresses itself harmoniously. You laugh, Vega. Yes, with surgical precision, that Scorpion is going to go after this information. And, that's the way it is. So we're talking about the major arcanum association with Mercury is number 1, the Magus. And was it, I think, therefore I am? Number 1, we think. We have to process. We have to gather information in order to grow. Man should, like God, act without ceasing. To will nothing and do nothing is more fatal than to will and do ill. It announces that a firm will and faith in yourself, guided by reason and a love of justice, will conduct you to the end that you wish to attain and will preserve you from the perils of the way. I thought we might get to Venus, but we're not going to do that now because we really don't have enough time. Again, I will get the, I will send you the documents that I put in the chat if you are unable to download them from chat. And next week, I will put them in the chat in the middle of the class. And perhaps everybody will be able to get them that way while we're doing things. Any questions before we close off?
How's your dog?
Oh, she's still coughing, but she's much better. I don't have to pick up as much phlegm on the floor or wipe it off of the walls as I had been. She, Vega had recommended that I give her an herb called Spongia, and that made a difference. And then I also found another homeopathic cough medicine, and oh, she loves this. But you know, you have those syringes that you for babies when you have to give them a cough syrup. Well, that's what I have to do with my dog. I have to do it slowly because if I do it all at once, she's going to spit it back in my face. And it tastes like honey, and it has honey in it. So she kind of, okay, I guess, because it does make me feel better. I'll let you do this. My dog is spoiled, and I just and I will try to make her as comfortable as I possibly can, because I'm not ready to let go yet. So there it is. I'm not ready to let go. Any other questions? She's doing fine. Her name is Penny, P-E-N-I. She is a Libran. I got her during the sun of Aries.
Can I ask you a question about the books?
Uh-huh.
Because so I read the second book, did all of the work, and I did it right before the full moon. And
Uh-huh.
then I nailed, like, I did really well on the exam. I was fine on the exam. And then I thought, well, you know what? I should read the book again. There's so much information in there. And so now I'm going through the book a second time and I'm like, I don't remember reading this.
Uh-huh.
Is that normal? Is that
And you're
common?
different from everybody else, how?
Okay, good. Thank you. Because I was gonna start book 3 next month, but I'm like, no, I'm gonna read this again because you can't get enough foundation.
Go, but if when you read book 3, it'll make what you've gotten from book 2
That much better.
Okay.
sink in. Yes, you certainly can read book 2 over again. I wouldn't suggest it, however. I would suggest that you keep keep going. Read book 3.
Thank you.
Somebody in the last class asked me, about the symbols for the signs and the planets, and you're going to find that information in book 4. So if you sit with book 2, you're not going to get some additional basic information from the other books. So as soon as you finish the books, you're going to want to start the series all over again.
I think
Guaranteed. Guaranteed. Ask Vega.
3 times.
so. 3
On
times.
the 4th.
Yeah. Every time you go through it,
It's
you
a
can lead a
brand new
horse to water, but you
experience,
can't
Jill.
make him drink. Each time you go through it, you get something that you weren't ready to get the first time.
Right.
Which would be a lot.
And
That's
you're
really
different.
helpful.
How?
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much
Yeah.
for that.
There's only one person who got everything out of all the books at the first time.
That was the writer, the author.
And that was C.C. Zane. That's right. Elbert Benjamin. He was the only one who did it. And each time you read through the book, I am more impressed with this man who was able to bring all of these things together. His wealth, his breadth and depth of knowledge, it was remarkable. And the more you read, the more you will see this. And he knew that he had a lot of information, but he also knew that he was scratching surfaces as well. So there's still a lot for everyone to do. And if I suggest that you keep barreling forward.
Okay.
And then go back, because the information in book 21 is going to inform the information of book 1 when you reread it.
I'm so glad that I have this physical book because it's
Uh-huh.
quite different having.
Yeah, well, I'm 70 years old, so I'm attached to physical books.
Physical book.
I'm a dinosaur. Although when I've also been using computers since the 70s, and so when they said, "Oh, computers were no more paper," I was, "Yeah, let's go," and they took too long, so I became more attached to paper because I was ready to give it up. Yeah, give me a book. And that's helped by the fact that I was also a fan of Star Trek. Computer and science fiction, I think, is interesting because it's very prescient. Many of the things that science fiction writers suggested are coming to pass. So it's interesting. Look to science fiction and see how we can improve things sometimes. In any event, any other questions about what we're doing? Or what I've talked about? Okay, so next week, I hope to get through the next 4 signs. That means Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. And if we can get through 5 signs, that'll be good too. Because I do want to spend a lot of time on aspects and looking at charts. Although we will not necessarily get into delineation because delineation doesn't come until course 10. However, if you start looking at it now, it'll make sense. And then maybe we can get Rodney to teach us how to do astro times. In any event. So I would, I think it's time now that we should go for the closing ritual so we can stop recording.